telling us aliens out here. They talking about aliens, man. Like, hey, go look at these aliens over here, y'all. Yeah, things are wild, man.
So you think uh, they mentioned the aliens to throw us off as a distraction?
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I don't think aliens are the deflection. I think we knew. I think we know what it was and what it is, and we just ain't even looking at it. Like, like, I stopped posting stuff, man, but I seen something about the press group, his communication group, and not one other race on on his communication team. But during the election, it was an all black communication team. They kept putting it out there,
Mm-hmm.
and now none of those individuals can find a job. Or just like us, man, we were talking about Ice Cube meeting with them. We was like, oh, Ice Cube, you a coon or whatever. And then where the money
Mm-hmm.
at? Ain't no money. Ain't nobody pushing no capital. That conversation's over, man.
Yeah.
Like the situation in I think it's North Carolina. You see that thing? Just had the video came out like a day or two ago. With that individual that got killed during the traffic stop, but it occurred like 2 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot his name, man. But
Oh yeah,
man,
and
like
then they just now releasing the body cam.
man, they released a body cam, man, and they told the family 2 years ago he died in an accident, man. But in the body cam, man, he on the ground crying and and pleading for his life, man. They sitting there tasing him, but it ain't no story no more, man, because that time is over, man. So you ain't seen BLM pick it up. You ain't seen nobody pick it up, man. Ain't nobody talking about it, man. We'll hear about it in about 3 years when it's time to get out and get to the polls again, man. And that's the
Right.
sad thing.
Oh,
That's that's
it's
the
kind of
sad
like
thing.
at this point, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, and by the way, this happened, this at this time. To
Yeah. Like BLM can't get a meeting. We was talking about BLM. BLM can't get a meeting. But
Yeah.
I know this week they signed that hate
The
bill,
Asian, yeah, the Asian hate.
Asian thing. And with
Yep.
nobody, I don't know if anybody peeped this, but our sister Kamala was representing herself as an Asian during the signing of that.
well, she got that.
I
She's
mean, she's
mixed,
it.
so she
She is
can kind of
Asian.
like bowl back and forth or whatever. And but it's all for the who can I cater to now kind of thing, right?
We
Instead
got
of just
man.
having a stance for what's good and what's bad for everybody, because I guess once you in that seat, or the way it should be in a perfect world, once you're in that seat, you are not Asian, you are not no color, you are just for America. Is how it should be in a perfect world, right?
In a perfect world,
Yeah.
and I mean that might be true, but you sold us a different product than what it is
Right.
now.
Right. Right. He showed us. I mean, but I mean, they know how to get a reaction out of us, right? They know what buttons to push, what triggers to hit
And then at
to
the
to
same
to get
time,
us moving.
yeah, at the same time, if people know that about you, the general public likes to be able to relate to something. So whatever, if you run and whatever your heritage is or whatever they put out there about you for whatever reason at the time as you run it, okay, say, oh, she's Asian and black, you know. So yeah, Asian people is gonna hear Asian, black people gonna hear black. And then when it comes down to it, each one of those groups is going to try to tug at those strings that, hey, you're supposed to be with us, and hey, you're supposed to be with us, you know. So the politician is kind of
Yeah, but what occurred the other day was powerful. And what I mean
mhm,
powerful it's federal law now on the books that if you
right,
cause any harm to an Asian, that's a federal offense.
right,
That's a hate crime.
right.
Like that's not a simple battery or simple assault. That's a misdemeanor. That is a hate crime. That thing can ruin your life over and but you're talking, man. We've been waiting what 300-400 years for just one of those things. I'm telling you, man, that was a big deal the other day. And what was the holdup for it being done all these years?
Right.
And the fact that nobody can get a conversation, BLM, Ice Cube, Master P, nobody can get a conversation, but federal law. So federal law is being passed. Federal law for the Asian community, which is good. Federal law for the LGBT community, which is good. And then it's like, hey, I know y'all helped me get elected, but I don't have no time for y'all. Won't want to talk about that.
Right.
I mean,
That's right now.
That should be insulting, but nobody's going to talk about that, man. No, even like we were talking about BLM last time. Did you see? Like since then, BLM came out with their 10 demands or whatever from the White House, and like 5 of them involved Trump. And it's like we still doing this. We're still doing this circle jerk, man. We still,
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I understand that because I mean, I know when the Stop Asian Hate hashtag came out, and you know, it was kind of like that agenda. They already got, like you said, they already signed bills about it. But Black people have been fighting, does America or the White House or whoever it might be, the powers that be, feel like, oh, we gave y'all affirmative action. We gave y'all the civil rights movement of the 70s / MLK type thing. And we've quote unquote talked about your issues, And
Yeah, but
ain't that, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like this is the attitude coming from them. I understand, and that's from the other side of the line. We feel like, hey, talking about it ain't good enough. Y'all just wrote this bill for these people, that quick. It happened that quick. Something happened to them. Y'all took action. Bills are being signed. We have been asking and telling y'all to look our way for a while now. And every time it seems like, even every time we do ask for just to be recognized as what we are, it's a struggle. Ain't nothing been signed up for us that fast. Even with the people who said they was going to do something for us, they ain't do it.
Well, even in affirmative action and the civil rights, man, that benefits everybody, with the exception of white men.
But there are people that, yeah. So when the white man knows that it doesn't benefit them, you know how that makes them feel.
Yeah, but I'm saying it didn't benefit us specifically. It just offset the head start that the white male had. So you could be a female, you could be a female of any race and benefit from affirmative action, benefit from the civil rights laws and stuff like that. Nothing was specific to say, okay, I'm gonna help you group. I'm gonna help this one group kind of get ahead. It was like, hey, it was kind of crazy because it was like, hey, you guys started this process and you guys kind of get you guys kind of got your butt whooped for it, but we're gonna write this thing. We're gonna put your face on it, but it's gonna benefit everybody else.
Right. And
it slowly shifted where it wasn't even like it slowly shifted, man. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. I don't want to sit back and be like, oh, I told you so, but I kind of expected. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I kind of expected this to happen because it's like, I don't know.
Why did you expect it to happen?
Because like you ask for what you get, meaning like if you don't ask for much, if your price is low, then you're gonna get what you ask for. Like all we asking is to make us feel better. But like it's crazy where it's like, hey,
and then we settle for the thing that just sounds like it's supposed to make us feel better.
They said, hey, y'all got this evil, like we just was manipulated, where it's like, hey, you guys got Mr. Smithers out of here. You guys are the reason. I think that was it. I think them clapping their hands and saying, hey, you guys did this. And everybody's like, hey, good job, guys. That was it. That was all we was going to get. That's it. That is it, man. Besides them coming in, they're gonna come in and give us these vaccines. They're gonna come in and sweep up our PPP violators.
Hmm.
Man, yeah, that's it. We ain't getting nothing, man. We ain't
So I
getting
mean, but
nothing.
okay, as we talk about, okay, you got what you asked for, pretty much. But if the alternative had happened, if the person that they putting all of this off on, the scapegoat person, had stayed in office up until this point, I mean, and I know it's a matter of opinion.
Uh-huh.
What do you think would be different, or how would it be going?
All right, so based on what was done, like I'm not even talking about the talking mean.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what was done, there was actionable items that you can look at and say, okay, that was done. Like there was like prison reform where people were getting out. That was
Mm-hmm.
done. There was
But it seemed like a lot of the media painted to those people that were getting out were people, friends, and so
no,
on.
no. He pardoned his friends. He pardoned his buddies. He
Right.
pardoned people for whatever reason. I'm talking about the prison reform. I'm talking about the First Step Act. Like there was a
Mm-hmm.
law. He had signed something in place that was letting out people. That was letting people out for marijuana and weed and little BS. Just
Mm-hmm.
letting them out on the love. Um, I mean, he gave money to black colleges. Like right now, black colleges are starting to say, hey, they're starting to pitch themselves to the White House again, saying, hey, can we get funded? He had already
Mm-hmm.
funded them. He had funded them for 10 years. That got swept off the table. Like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't realize with a lot of these executive actions, all that things that he did, the prison reform, the funding HBCUs, all that stuff, a lot of that stuff got wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was put in a position where it was like, hey, I'm helping y'all because I'm getting rid of evil man stuff. But evil man did a lot of cool stuff. And my thing was this: it wasn't the person. We gotta stop looking at the person.
Right.
We gotta look at how we can manipulate the situation.
Right.
How much power can we have? And it seemed like he had the personality that all you had to say was, hey, you're a good guy, and he give you whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we needed. That's what we needed. Like really, what would he pardoned Lil Wayne because Lil Wayne says, hey, I like him.
Right.
So when you get somebody like that, well, you ain't even gotta offer him nothing but some fake support, then because we get it done to us too. Every election year, they come to our churches and say, hey, we like y'all. And we like, all right, we're gonna vote for y'all. And then they
Mm-hmm.
forget about us for 4 years. So we had somebody that we could say, hey, we like you. Even if we don't like you, we like you. And he was like, all right, well, what do you need? Oh, we need this. So I think that was a situation that we could have benefited from just by manipulating the situation, saying, "Hey, we need this."
Mm-hmm.
That's off the table, man. That's off the table, and we was really sold. Like I think I said this before. The system ain't one person. So when we talk about this evil system, and we're going to be talking about this with the history or whatever. When we talk about this evil history, and then this guy from the outside comes in
Mm-hmm.
and we can look at them like we're old enough and there's enough technology where we can look back and be like, dang, he was
Mm-hmm.
standing beside Muhammad. Now I'm not saying he like some savior, but I'm saying we can look back in history and be like, dang, he was hanging out with Snoop. He was hanging out with this guy. He was hanging out with this guy.
Right.
All these rappers hung out with him and partied with him and celebrate with him when there was nothing to win in the situation.
Right.
He was with Rosa Parks, and at the same time he was getting awarded by the NAACP for with Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali. The other dude was writing laws to lock us up.
Right.
So I'm not saying this guy was a savior, but I'm saying we've been here long enough to know, okay, he ain't a card carrying Klan member kind of thing. And if the system is what we think the system is or what we say the system is, and we see this guy show up and the system turns on that guy, then that's where you got to ask yourself, this system really is what we say it is, and this guy shows up and they turn on him so much so that they don't even, so much so that he's been banned from communicating. His president, First Amendment rights have been taken away, where he can't communicate openly with the public. Meaning, unless we got his phone number, or unless he get on, or he can't even get on YouTube. So unless he get on, I don't know. I don't even know how to. Would we could get a video or hear him say anything without the system taking it down?
Right.
When you have something like that where this individual loses all his rights when he can't even talk, and then here's another thing too. Everybody's like, "Oh, get him out of here." How many people actually follow him on Twitter and read his Twitter every day to hear all these bad things?
Mm-hmm.
Just in the last week, just in the last week, the current guy insulted the Coast Guard. Did you see that? He insulted the Coast Guard.
I didn't see
I
that.
heard. I didn't look into what he actually said, but
What he
I
did
heard
is,
that he tried to make a joke that went horribly wrong.
yeah.
Which is not the first time he did.
And then, well, here's the thing: he did a Ronald Reagan joke, word for word, and it didn't hit. So he was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Y'all dog." And then 2 days before that, he was driving the truck, saying, "Hey, this is a green energy truck." What the news didn't show is that was a steering wheel and a driver and a passenger side.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't show that part. They didn't show that him saying, "Hey, lady, get in front of the truck and I'll run you over," because she
Mm-hmm.
wanted to ask a certain question. So what I'm saying is, all these little things they whatever, but if the other guy had said it, it'd be front page news and we'd be distracted by it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got to look at what we're getting out of a situation. We got to think about it. We got to stop taking things so personal and think about it from a business standpoint. How can I benefit? Would I do business with a person I don't like? Yeah, if it benefits the business and if it benefits me, we have to start thinking about that. But we think of it as a friendship, as a relationship, where you gotta make me feel good. You gotta make me
Right.
like. So what I'm saying, we have like these gas prices, like the same people that weren't doing good financially before, now they really not doing good with the gas prices. Along with that, inflation's going up, food prices is going up. Like life is starting to
Do you
change.
believe that the gas thing was really an outside job, or you think it was an inside job?
You talking about the pipeline?
Yeah.
It's looking outside. It is looking outside. Everything's pointing to outside. But here's the problem: the last guy said, "Fuck around and find out," and he said it. The
Mm-hmm.
last guy said, "If the last guy said, hey, you guys talking about like to the foreign like leaders," he said, "Fuck around and find out." And
Mm-hmm.
the media was like, "Oh man, how could he say that?" But
Mm-hmm.
did anybody try to attack? Yeah, think
Mm-hmm.
about it. He droned the most feared general in Asia. I mean, on the other in the other hemisphere, like that general was the most feared general. He droned him
Mm-hmm.
and told everybody, "Fuck around and find out." What did North Korea do? Sit down. What did Iran do? Sit down. Ain't nobody make a move.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy shows up and they're not only are they shutting down our pipelines, but we're paying off the ransom. If that happened with the pipeline, you gotta understand, what do you think's gonna happen with the grid, man? What do you think's gonna happen at the grid? That's what I'm saying. Things
But
are
my
because
perspective on it is, okay, it could be an outside job, but nobody on the outside, most people on the outside don't stand to profit as much from something like that as the people on the inside. So I feel like it might be an agreement between people on the outside and people on the inside at that fine, thin line between the have and the have nots. Say somebody that's in power, all those who stand to profit from a mass spike in oil prices and gas prices in America. It's going to make a lot of Americans or whatever they claim to be, rich.
Well,
And
I don't.
they in
I don't.
turn can pay off those who don't care either way what you do. Okay, go ahead and do it as long as it's going to bring me some money. Do what you do.
I
well,
don't think. I don't think the pipeline. Like, I don't think it makes sense for you to tell me that gas prices went up just because of that pipeline, that one
Right.
pipeline issue.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think there were other significant things I mean, all these stimulus checks, right? You had to know
Right.
there was going to be some type of impact. All these government bailouts, right? Since the vote for over a year now, you had to know that there was going to be some type of impact. So I don't think it makes sense for you to tell me that this pipeline going down for a day or two is the cause for gas prices to go up everywhere.
Right. So that's why I'm figured you might be an outside job, but somebody on the inside knew about it or was okay with it as well.
Well, I think what the pipelines do, if you're pulling oil from the North Dakotas, or you're pulling oil from the Gulf, it gives us self-reliance. So we have our own oil. But if we can be sold that our pipelines are not secure, it's not a redundant source of oil, then we start courting that outside thing where it's like maybe we should go and buy Saudi's oil again.
Well, I
Maybe
mean, and then it goes into, okay, I believe what the majority of the people out there, okay, what grade of gas do you put in your car, Stu?
I mean, my drive around cars, I'll put the old stuff, but my nicer car, I'll put like the good stuff.
Okay. P, what you put it?
Regular, the cheapest they got. Well, nah, for my grocery getter, I put regular.
Right.
For my little 2-seater, I put premium.
Right. You know, but I think we can all be in agreement that premium these days, regardless of what it is, you know, people have a choice, and if you got an overstock of the lower grade gas because people don't buy it as much, you know. So now, because I really don't think on a daily basis as many trucks, trains, pipelines, and everything that we have, the way America runs, that you can shut something off one day, you know, because the trucks that are going out are a resupply, yeah, but there's a overstock of something somewhere. So if we got this 10 tanks of, we can sell 89 and 97 all day, but we don't sell this 87 that much. So let's say we're gonna stop the pipeline, then open it back up. And then when we open it back up, because here in Atlanta, I got 3 or 4 gas stations that you can buy 87 at, but you can't get no premium, you can't get no mid-grade. So we need to get rid of.
Hello? You there?
Yeah.
Lost you.
Check. All right. So
yeah, you're back.
in order to offload some of that, you know, you shut it down, force people to have to buy this if they want gas at all, while at the same time profiting off of the shortage, quote unquote.
Well, you got to look at who owns our gas stations. Like when you go, who's the person, not the person working there. Who's the person that most likely you see that their family owns the gas?
Right.
So, and where are their ties at? Like
right.
A lot of people don't realize that beside all the tough talking that was happening these previous 4 years, there was a lot of like old business and old money that was going around between politicians that was cut off because this new guy was in here. So that's where pipelines were so important. Like the pipeline could feed everybody. We didn't need to go elsewhere to feed. I read this book. This is book, The Exception to the Rulers. I read this book I read this book during the war, actually, when I was in Kirkuk, and I saw it's like we were only guarding pipelines. We weren't guarding people.
Right.
And I was like, why is that? And I remember like going over there, and I'm like, gas went from like $2 to $4.
Right.
And I'm like, no, we here. I'm like watching the oil be taken in trucks.
Right.
Why did the gas go up?
Right.
So I think us being like us having our own source, they had to cut that off. They had to get back to the business beforehand. Like our people been doing business with the other side for a long time. And we just pawns, man. We just down here. We just down here kind of keeping the engine going. And we don't really know what's going on. But when we see something like that, I mean, we are so our water sources are not redundant. Our energy sources, you got to think about it. There's only 3 energy sources for the country: Texas, the eastern coast, and the western coast. If you can hack the grid, the East Coast from Louisiana to Maine, all the power goes.
Mm-hmm.
If you can hack the West Coast from New Mexico all the way up to Washington, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if that happened. Imagine they did that for 3 days. Imagine had the oil had they not cut the pipeline on, had they not paid the ransom to cut the pipeline on for 5 days, our supply chains would have, because the trucks couldn't run. Most of our supply chains are still running off trucks, man. Like within a week, Walmart would be empty.
Mm-hmm.
And then we be on some whatever. I don't know.
You know what it's gonna be.
I'm just saying, like,
not even just the dependence on the others, right? Could it be that they're trying to make the point to move towards the energy efficient vehicles, right? Could it be they're trying to?
I don't think. Do you think
increase,
America or the powers that be really want to move that direction? I don't think they do, because there's all like just like you saying about the grid, and just like you saying about the pipeline. There are only a few who hold the power to go that route.
Yeah, the ones who got their pockets in the energy efficient market, they want to.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who are holding on to the crude oil and all those other ways, they don't want to.
I don't think we could go green energy, man, because of our dollar. You got to think about our dollar is not supported by resources. It's supported by, like, they call our dollar the petrodollar, because you can only buy oil from certain places in the world using the dollar. That's what gives our dollar the power. If we went clean energy, then our dollar wouldn't have any value. And
but just like, okay, what was it before it became the petrodollar? What was it?
I mean, well, it was backed by silver.
Wasn't gold and that, right? A different resource.
Yeah, so our dollar was a different. It was our legal tender was different then. Like right now, our dollar is just an IOU, but before it was backed by silver.
Right, and then it went to petro, and so what? With all the cryptocurrency and all this other stuff, where's the breaking point to where it becomes from the petrodollar to the crypto dollar, or the whatever dollar, the next thing, electrodollar, whatever, if that's the resource? Because when you really look at it, with technology advancement, that would be the smartest resource to go with, to bank your dollar on, to make it as much as valuable as possible.
Well, like, even with the crypto, I think the federal government's going to step in and start regulating crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the reason I say this, is because, like, our dollar became the petrodollar and switched when Woodrow Wilson signed the country over to the Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And the Federal Reserve started printing money and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So because crypto right now, anybody can play the crypto game, I think the federal government is going to step in and try to regulate crypto before crypto becomes like a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the rich people right now just have too much leverage. Just like when Elon Musk says, "Hey, you can't buy a Tesla with the crypto anymore," and everybody's like, "Oh, crypto's going away."
Yeah, but I hear he's supposed to be coming out with his own coin, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the feds are going to step in.
That's probably why he made that announcement, because he's really trying to set it up for his own coin.
All right, let me see if I can play this.
All right, now Republicans in the Texas House have passed a bill yesterday that bans public school teachers from talking about racism, white supremacy, or current news events. The bill is being fast-tracked for the governor, Greg Abbott, to sign into law. So that means social studies and civics teachers aren't allowed to discuss that one race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex, or the idea that an individual, by virtue of the individual's race or sex, bears responsibility for actions committed in the past by other members of the same race or sex.
All right. Did y'all hear that?
And you said that was Arizona, right?
Texas,
that's right, Texas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear part of that as and I think we've talked about this leading up, or the roots of this, as far as not being emotional about things and not carrying the past into the future. But, and as we were talking about, between just us, I think, Stu, you said you've been kind of battling with this, and initially you were kind of, hey, wait a minute. But then when we step back and think about it and think, okay, well, why do we continue to talk about the past or learn about it, right?
Well, I think you got to think about it. School's going to give your kid Martin Luther King, George Washington Carver, and Rosa Parks. That's about it. Those are the three you're going to get. So Martin Luther King, you're going to talk about the "I Have a Dream." We should all be on the same team. Rosa Parks, you're going to hear she wouldn't sit in the back of the bus. And then with George Washington Carver, you're going to talk about what? Peanut butter. He was the inventor of peanut butter. So that's pretty much what you're going to hear. Waiting on the school to teach your kid. What I was saying is, like, if you want your kid to know the true history, you got to teach them yourself. You cannot rely on the school. And if this system is what we say the system is, we can't rely on the system to give our kids the real information, because they're not going to tell they're not going to tell your kid about Malcolm X. They're not going to tell your kid about Eldridge Cleaver. They're not going to tell your kid about none of this stuff. They're not going to tell your kid the truth about what's going on. They're just going to tell the individuals that have been deemed acceptable, and then they'll talk about slavery. That's about it.
They're not even going to tell you the truth about George Washington Carver.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and how from the little bit I've researched, I believe he's actually the one that came up with the assembly line and not Henry Ford. Henry Ford kind of took that from him. You know what I mean? And I believe George Washington Carver might have been castrated too.
For his activism?
No. Something about he wanted to go live with a white family. And he's castrated at the age of 11 at the request of his white master. And apparently, that's why his voice stayed high pitched for pretty much his entire life. But I don't know if I want these schools being forced to teach, Black history, right? Because one of the biggest things that bothers me is that we keep asking stuff from people who can't give us what we're asking for. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, if I tell you I want you to teach Black history, then I have to be, then that makes me subject to what you teach about Black history, right? And the perspective you teach it from. If we want Black history to be taught, then we need to start teaching Black history. We need to put ourselves in positions to control, right, what is being taught. And I kind of agree to the fact, like, I don't think we should be teaching it in a manner in which to where you start to create some type of hate or victimization, right? If you're going to teach it so that we understand the facts, right? Teach the kids to understand the facts of what happened and let them formulate their own opinions. You know what I'm saying? But if you're teaching it to where you're pushing victimization, or you're teaching, everything is just racist fault, even though it may be, right? The way you teach it, that has an impact that we may not be ready for.
And another thing too, man, is I believe it's a good thing we have Black History Month and all this other stuff, but I also think we have to get beyond living in the past. Meaning, like we all, because of the past, we all have generational trauma, like all of us, in some type of way. and then all of us, our specific families, all have a story. There's a story of all our families where there was one degenerate or two in our story that auntie got raped or something like that. We don't, as a family, as your individual family, you don't live on that. You don't live on that every day. You understand that's what it was, and then you use that as a reason to never go back there. But you don't live in it. You don't live in it. We tell our kids the history that we want them to know, so they're reminded, so they understand what it is, and they understand where they're coming from, but we don't let them live in it. And the fact that we're fighting this battle, that we're even like from the 1619 Project and stuff like that, or the critical race theory, all this stuff where we're like, hey, we want to hear every year and every day how we're the victims. If you keep doing that, you're going to end up being a victim all the time. So I think we should be reminded, understand, we teach ourselves so we get the real information, and then we move on from it. Never forget it, but don't live in it.
Right. Use it as a foundation to build towards a better future. I think one of the biggest things we need to focus on teaching is how to actually trust each other, come together, right, and become a community again. All right. I think that's the biggest thing that is hurting our community, is that, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to come together.
Are we good? Yeah, I don't think this is going to stop, man. Especially since the individual that came up with the critical race theory, I think she lost her tenure as a professor. A lot of these individual schools, they're going to start pushing away the whole Black history, though. I think even right now, you get like a week of it. I think my kid got a week of it, maybe. So, ain't nobody really talking about it like that.
Nah, man, they don't care. And what's worse is that we're not in a position to stop them from doing what they want anyway.
Yep.
Like, when we start looking at the issues and start figuring out how to put ourselves in position to actually make an impact or change what they're trying to do, outside of that, a lot of things we do, I think, are pointless.
Plus, I mean, I kind of think our biggest problem is not who on the outside is trying to tell us how we are, how our history. Like you were saying, like we got to figure out how to deal with ourselves. Because even right now, it's like rampant right now. Where we killing each other. I think I just saw on Facebook like a week ago, some dude like just shot another dude like in the doorstep. And it's like we talking about police violence, and we hurt each other. We can't. If we could come together, we wouldn't need nobody else. Just like every other group, you see when every other group gets together and they're with each other, they don't need nobody else.
Right. And because of that, right, when they request something or have an issue, right, the other races or other communities are apt to do something about it. Hence, right, the movement in the Asian bill, which, I love my Asians, you know what I'm saying? But
and here's another thing too about oppression. How are we truly oppressed? That's my question. How are we truly oppressed? I go to the same store as everybody else.
Well, at the same time,
I wouldn't say we're not.
a lot of times
the oppression is there.
The oppression is there, but is it a way that we like?
I think I understand what you're saying. Let me see if what you're saying. So I believe that, right? More than any other time in our history, we are free to do what we need to do today. So the oppression probably comes from, I believe, that mentality that we're unable to break free. Like the damage has been done so badly, right? So on such a level that even when you're free, even when we're free to do what we need to do, we're not in a position to do it. But I think also there are other ways in which the oppression still exists, right? I mean, I know the three of us can attest to it in our military careers, right? Like how many times did we get hit for something that our white counterparts are probably doing the same or worse, but got a pass for? You know what I'm saying? Like, like, so I think it still exists. I don't think it's on the level to where it can stop us if we come together, but I still think it exists.
Well, I mean, I think the term oppression. I think focusing on that, the oppression is what like I've been watching the Kwame Brown thing play out this week. I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but he been kind of speaking out, man, and he was saying like all these years people been calling me a bus. He said, but I put it, but he explained the context of what he thought would, you know, him being a bus was. Everybody said he was a bus based on the standard that the system came up with. The standard said, hey, you should be this, you should be this, you should be this Hall of Famer with a 20, 10, and 10 stats. When he was like, that opportunity gave me an opportunity to get my family elsewhere. So I view it different than where I'm. Like I think we look at oppression. I think a lot of us use oppression as an excuse to not work. I will say whatever oppression we do feel makes it harder. The road is going to be harder. It's going to hurt to get where you got to go to achieve what you need to achieve. But I think a whole lot of us just don't even try. We just say how much we oppress
I agree with that.
because I mean, we got family in the 20s and 30s that was buying land, and they was feeling real oppression. And they was buying land, and we had a village, man. The thing, what we did, we've gone backwards. Like we have nicer things, but we've gone backwards than we were 100 years ago. 100
Yeah.
years ago, our people was really feeling real oppression, and they just went out and they got it. They understood what it was, and they went out and got it. 100 years later, we've been convinced that these people really love us and that we should embrace it like that. Oh, you love us. Give us all the things
You
you need.
don't.
Give us our money. Give us all this. No, understand what it is. Understand the path. You understand the game because there's so much information. You can get the game and figure out how to get around it. Just understand it's gonna hurt. Maybe that oppression is the pain, but there's a way around it. We ain't stuck. We gotta get out of that. We stuck.
So I think it comes down to, and you hear this other walks of life of knowing at the end of the day, everybody you need to know your worth.
So I think that's big what Stu just said with the whole learning the game. I think part of the problem with not part of this is a big problem, I believe, is that we are successful folks, right? Our gatekeepers, right? We even seen it in the military where cats will become successful and then concede, right, to the game that they're in instead of putting themselves in a position to change it, right? Understanding that the game that we're playing wasn't, at least the way it's being played, wasn't created for us. It wasn't designed for us, right? So when you find a few that are able to make it and win in that game, instead of saying, okay, now I'm in a position to change it, they're coming back like, oh, this is what you got to do. Like, nah, Playboy, you don't understand. Like this game wasn't correct. I'm not positioned. We're not positioned to do the same things that these folks are doing on a regular. like we're just not positioned for that. Like especially in business, right? Business people look at other successful entrepreneurs and business owners, and they're like, all right, well, this is what you got to do to make it. What you can't really tell me that because I'm not in a position financially, right? Not in the network, right? There's so many different things that I don't have access to or available to in order to get there. So instead of saying, all right, this is where you need to get, let's find more creative ways together to get there. We don't do that.
Why not?
We don't do that.
Pean, I got a question, Pean, and this is an honest question. You as a black business owner, is black people a safe investment?
Is black people a safe investment?
A safe investment, like going to our neighborhoods and our stuff. Is it a safe investment?
Is it a safe
is it a safe and reliable investment? Meaning you're going to get your investment back. We have to ask ourselves that.
That's a complicated question.
Right. I'll piggyback on that question.
But all right, so it's a loaded question, but on the surface, the answer is it depends. Because it depends what wait, right? I'm not trying to give you a political answer here. It depends on what business you're talking about. Right? Because there are some industries in which, right, that's the best place to be, right? So if you're a liquor store, you're gonna be in a black neighborhood, right? If you're a bail bondsman, right, you're gonna be in a black neighborhood. For my industry that I'm working in right now, no, the black community is not a safe investment on the surface, right? There are things that I can do, that I will do eventually to be able to mitigate those risks and change that. But
what industry is that?
I have an event space, so it's like a catering hall, banquet hall. So weddings, parties, right? Catering.
So the hospitality / entertainment industry,
right?
Kind of, sort of.
Right.
Okay.
Which and it's crazy, right? It's funny you say that because I tell you a story what just happened. Right? Is that we don't want to be honest with ourselves about the fact that our people bring an added level of risk.
Yep.
Right. And so it's perfect you bring it up. So I had a guy, a party promoter. I got a nice space here. And, being that it's black owned, of course, the party promoters are like, oh man, this place is beautiful. I want to do something here. Right. But I'm in a predominantly white neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Right. My facility is in a predominantly white neighborhood. Right. It's a blessing that I'm here. Because on the surface, I couldn't afford the place. Right. The owner was willing to work with me. Right. That's a different story. But I'm here in a predominantly white neighborhood. I haven't bought the place yet. I haven't bought the place yet. I'm in the process of trying to buy the place. And if you know anything about business, for your business to be successful or to even be positioned to, you have to get a certain level of approval from the township and the county and the state, right, to operate the way, right, in the industry that you want, for the uses that you want. Mm-hmm. So this guy wants to throw a party, and I'm still kind of figuring things out. And when he first comes to me a couple months ago, I expressed my concern. I tell everybody that, like, I'm not sure about the whole party thing and having because our people fuck shit up, right? They come in and they fuck your shit up, right? And they don't care. Right. And so when we first talked, I expressed these concerns. He's like, oh, he's gonna have security. And we talked about like capping it out at like 100, because we were still in like COVID restrictions at that time too, when we first talked to the guy. And we're like, we're gonna cap it out at 100. Right. And I let somebody else throw a party before then, right? Turned out horrible, right? It wasn't like they didn't completely mess my place up, but they could have, and the whole process was just wasn't worth it, right? I'm not. Right, it's a lot of work for just $1,000. You know what I'm saying, or even 2,000. Like, this is way too much work, way too high of a risk. And even talking to this guy, getting ready to have this party on Memorial Day weekend. I'm still expressing current concerns, and he's making moves to mitigate some of my concerns. But the township gives me a call, right? And apparently this guy is promoting the fuck out of this party, right? This ain't no small party. They called me up like, hey, we got some concern about your event on Memorial Day weekend. They said the state police done hit them up, right? The state police hit them up about this party. Apparently the DJ is a well-known DJ, and his following seems to like really fuck shit up. And they're like, they want me to cancel the party, and I'm not gonna fight with the township at this stage in my
you're not trying to make a bad name for yourself.
Right, I'm not right. I'm too early to be making enemies out the township, and so I call the guy, and I let him know that they hit me up about the concerns. I'm like, hey, we gotta cancel the party. Right. I told him we got to cancel. He's up in arms, and he's like, oh, they can't tell you this. What's the problem? He's like, can I talk to the guy? I'm like, sure, you can talk to him, but I'm still gonna cancel the party. Right. And the funniest part about the whole exchange, and I'm letting him, I understand he's frustrated, so I take it. Right. I give him his money back. I even give him a couple extra dollars for the promotional materials that he spent money on. Right. But at no point in time in this conversation did he say, hey, man, if you have any issues, I'll take care of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? At no point in time did he say, oh, if you got issues with the township, I got your back. Right. He never said that. You know what I'm saying? And then digging a little bit deeper, come to find out, like, he's had this issue before, which means that you knew, right? You knew that you had this risk, that you have this it's a risk. Like it's a huge risk. We don't take care of our own shit, right? Ideally, the place to be would be down in Camden, right? Which I'm going to make my way down there when I have the money to be able to mitigate the risk, and it's worth it. But Camden, if I put a spot like this in the heart of Camden, I don't know if anybody's coming. Right. I don't know if anybody's coming, and I don't know if our people's going to spend enough money. You know what I mean?
And then it's kind of like, that's the part of when I was going to piggyback on what Stu asked, is banking on our people is a safe bet, because instead of, he's had this problem before. And instead of figuring out a way to meet what the city council, whoever's asking for, and still throw a great party, because both can really be done. You got a max capacity. And if you at max capacity and you write that into your budget of what you expect from it, then it's guaranteed. We're going to go here. This is what we're going to make. This is how we're going to do it. And that's it. Don't get greedy. No problems. But instead, he wants to get greedy, and I'm going to do how I want to do it. I need to throw the biggest party, whoever going to come, and bucking the system to where it makes it hard. And now you got to make the call to cancel the party as a legitimate business person. But there's another guy down the street who's going to be a shady business person and do it anyway, and let the cops get called, and take that hit and have to pay the extra money to the city for doing something they weren't supposed to do. It's not cost effective. It's not efficient. I mean, it's kind of like, I feel like that's the part of education when it comes to business that our people have to understand, because we were always looking up and seeing, what it looks like, this is the privilege. Oh, they can do this and they can do that and they can get away with it. Yeah, that's true to an extent. But at the same time, when you really break it down, at the end of the day, they still following a certain guideline and a certain rules and go up to a certain point and don't try to overdo it. Yeah. So we got to do that even more so.
The thing is, we've had that before. Like during the bus boycott, we already had a bus business. Like we already had a bus company during the bus boycott. We already had taxi cabs. We already had these businesses. Like for a black business owner in a black neighborhood, I don't think we're a safe investment because I think besides trying to get us to go lower on our prices on the cost of things, I think people would rather go to the Asian spot, rather go to this spot, rather go to this spot. And we don't look at ourselves. We don't, like you were saying, know your value. We don't value each other that much. So I think we're worried about little things. We're worried about like the school educating like our kids, but we should be worried about each other, valuing each other. Because our we've been the financial base for gas stations, Asian restaurants, hair salons. What if we took all that money and put it back into ourselves?
Right.
We could get ourselves out of the bullshit right away. And
Right.
like I don't think it's rocket science.
It's not.
I think we got to look at ourselves, be critical of what's really going on, get the emotion out of it, and think of it from a business standpoint. Am I a safe investment? No, I'm not a safe investment because even if the party had went on, what's the chances of a shootout or a fight or something going or it's something happening? And then now
Right.
you're in a situation. Now you're in a pickle, and
Why?
like we have to
We
find
can't
value in
afford to.
ourselves.
We can't afford to bounce back from that. And that's why I say it depends because there are, and this is why only other cultures can survive in black neighborhoods because at least they have access to the capital and the money it takes to bounce back from things like that. Right. When we start something and we work towards something, right, this is all we got. One of the funniest things about this place is people come in and they're like, "Oh, he got money." Like, I'm broke. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
like this
I'm
takes all
I'm
my
I'm
money.
I'm
You know
I'm
what I'm saying? Like
TLC I'm TLC out this motherfucker.
this takes all my money, right? That means that the level of risk I take with this place is bigger than the other person that has
Right.
access to capital because one big mishap, I'm done. I can't recover.
But at the same time, coming from a businessman's point of view, and how we as black men view making it in business, and how suffering a loss affects us versus the privilege or whatever it is that when the other side suffers a loss or takes that same hit in entrepreneurship, in that arena of business, don't you still think that we look at it differently than they look at it? Because they can take a hit, but a lot of times they are willing to take a hit, willing to take a loss because they know uncle, brother, cousin, whoever that they're connected to. Not everybody is going to, they got they got the resources because of whatever. But for you, even to make it this far, you had to fight and get a loan and get approval and be able to talk well enough to get your establishment into white people's neighborhood. At least I'm
So
here.
so I think it takes, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier, is how people just try to learn how to do things the way that somebody else did it to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we have to understand the game, right? Not just what somebody else did to make it there. We have to understand why what they did worked, right? Why they did what they did, like what were they analyzing? So when you look at risk, right, in when you analyzing the risk, you should be analyzing how much you're going to lose if it goes bad or something goes
Right.
bad versus how much you're going to gain, the potential to gain if it goes
Right.
right. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So like if you we'll use the party for example, right? Let's say I was in a neighborhood with a township that didn't have an issue. They don't care, right? Let's say the township doesn't care, right? Even with the township not caring, I still care, right? It still matters to me because I'm like, what is the right? I don't have a liquor license, so now all I'm gaining money on is what you pay me for the rental,
Right.
right? So even if you paid me $3,000 to rent the place, right? $3,000 compared to the risk that Stu was breaking down of the possibilities, right? A
Right.
fight breaks
A
out,
broken
or
chair,
somebody shooting, or
a
something in my
fight.
place gets broken, something,
Yeah.
right? That's not worth $3,000.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? Now, but on the flip, now if I have a liquor license, right, and having these people in here getting fucked up, right, increases my sales, and I can make, 10, 15, $20,000 in a night, then yeah, that risk becomes worth it. You know what I'm saying? That risk becomes worth it, right? Because then, even with the, right, let's say there's a shooting, right, or something catastrophic happens, I might have been making enough money to bounce back from that, right? I can rebrand, right? How many clubs right, got the same owner? They just, change the name, rebrand,
Right.
right? Because they're making that, it's worth it then. So it depends on what's your potential to gain versus, your potential to lose if something goes bad. Because the reality is things won't go bad all the time, right? That's just you just have to be willing to accept when it does go bad and be ready to deal with it. So, right, one shooting every few years.
Even when I initially brought up the are we a safe investment statement, um, a lot of the times, and Pean said it a nice way of us saying we are a risk. So he said it in a nice way. If you're thinking business and we are not a safe investment, then a lot of times you don't do business with us. You don't invite us to your places of business. And that comes off as you're oppressing us. You're not letting us in your circle. Now, us three, we might not be. We are a safe investment, but a lot of people don't know that. Like we look
Right.
like everybody else. So, like that's all I'm saying. We as a community have to change this whole narrative. One, we need to have our own, so we ain't got to go elsewhere. But two, we got to start changing this thing that we have going on. We know what is going on. We have to. And I don't think I could change it. I don't think y'all could change it individually. And I honestly don't think it's going to change, to be honest with you. But I'm saying
But
if
I
we
mean,
we don't change it,
Keep saying
you
this.
know, they always
Wait up, Sam. Before you attack that one, let me respond. The
yeah,
reason why I said it in a nice way, as us being like worth the investment, is because it's a catch-22. Because Black people are also the biggest consumers,
yeah.
right? Culturally, right? Like we are the ones that are gonna spend the money, to look good or chase that status. So it's a catch-22 when you say, "Are we a safe investment?" Because everybody else is taking our money.
right,
You know what I'm saying? They just don't want to be in a position to where, we can fuck their shit up.
right. I mean, and this is like in Pean's uh realm, or his avenue of business is hospitality entertainment. I'm a comedian slash whatever. That's my, you know what I'm saying? But those two lanes work side by side for each other, you know. Because if he's got a venue and is putting on events, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody who's putting on events and who's doing this. But the frustration for us both is, I know even as a comedian, even as something that's simply telling jokes, if I'm going to tell these jokes to a Black audience, I have to do it a certain way. You know, I have to tell, even if it's against, even if the intelligence of me, my education, or whatever.
Good shit.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I want to tell smarter jokes and raise the bar a little bit. A black audience might not necessarily respect that at being at my level right now. Maybe if I was on Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, or somebody else level, then it might blow over. But being at the level I am now, even though I know, hey, you know, I could tell the same joke here at my level and get booed or shunned or kicked off the stage. But if I told it at this level, then you would listen to me. It's the same. I'm saying the same thing. It's coming from the same place. So when you're in that space of investing in your people, look, I want to invest into you. I want you to meet me at this level. I don't want to have to come down to this level and then build back up to where I already am. You know, and I feel like that's where Pean is at. That's where, like, I want y'all to be classy. I want you to come in without fucking shit up, without being that typical stereotype, whatever it is. I want you to be here. But I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to kick y'all out or not cater to you. I just want you to be here. Meet me here.
So I think so I agree and disagree at the same time. All right, but wait, Stacy, I don't know how to say her last name, but Stacy over here dropping gems. Stu, you see her comment? She talking
Which
to you,
one?
Stu.
Yeah, let me see.
Oh, this one?
Let me see it. He doesn't realize that you have more people than ever in the boat. I don't get what she's saying.
She said if she's responding how you say you don't think things are gonna change.
You putting up on black people.
So I'll say this. I'll say this real quick. So P, you made your example. Said you made your example in comedy.
Yeah.
So if you guys both have to consider this group, this consumer group, you have to both understand and look at this consumer group and alter your thing to adjust to them. If say that has to be done in all aspects of life, in policing, that has to be done in housing, that has to be done in all aspects of life, then the conditions that we are under, the conditions that some of us is under, do you think is self-inflicted? And I'm not talking about a 7-year-old baby. I'm talking about grown people. Like we have to take accountability for this situation.
Right.
And I'm not
so
saying
this is what I'll say. This is what I'll say.
As a
so
whole.
I agree and disagree with both of them. Right. So one, I'll say that I believe part of the problem is that we are always trying to adjust ourselves and who we are. Right. We have to decide. One of the biggest things that saved me, especially in my military career, is that I finally learned that I had to decide who I wanted to be.
Right.
Right. And be that person. And I'm okay whether or not everybody likes it or doesn't.
Love me, hate me, or leave me alone.
Right. Love me or hate me. Right. Now, that's not to say that I don't believe in growth, right? Constant growth every day, getting better, right? Acknowledging what sucks. Right. I'm gonna be there. Stu, I don't believe that things won't change. I believe that the right people haven't come together yet. right? And so, like for this business, one of the biggest frustrations I have is that I know what route I can take in order to be as comparably successful to a white counterpart, right? But I have specifically, right? I specifically put myself in position to take this journey in a manner to where I want to make myself available to help our people, right? Change our mindset and our approach, and to go on and be successful and change things foundationally together. The problem becomes, right, back to the mentality. You are right that we self-inflict this pain. Some of the biggest issues that I've run into is Black people thinking that they already know how to be successful, but yet aren't successful. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Well, why you ain't doing it yet? Like, don't come in and tell me that you know what you're doing and I have to follow what you're telling me to do when you haven't done what you're telling me needs to get done. You know what I'm saying? Like, ultimately, what I'm looking for, what I need, what we all need is a group of people who are just willing to come in and work. Just come in and work and figure this shit out together, right? We talked about this like a couple of months ago, where I think, Stu, you're the one that said it. You're like, we need a people who are willing to chalk this one up, to be like, I'm not going to get anything out of this, but I'm going to establish this foundation for the ones after me, right? We need people that's willing to come in and work. The biggest shit that fucks me up about people is that nobody's accepting that life as we were living it doesn't work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like COVID, people are using COVID as a crutch, as an excuse, right? But in reality, I believe, especially in business, that COVID showed us that we were stupid, that what we was doing before didn't make any sense. Right. But instead of saying, let's change, right? Let's make adjustments to what we were doing, right? Instead of just saying, oh, it works, it just COVID messed me up. Nah, like that don't make no sense. Right? Like right. They tell us personally, right? They tell us personally that a person should have up to at least 6 months of emergency fund, you know what I mean, saved up. You telling me
is that realistic in the wages and everything? How realistic
I'm
is
not
that?
talking about what it is. I'm talking about the principle, right? That's the principle that they give us,
right?
Right. So if that's the principle you give a person in their personal life, you telling me businesses that are making like hand over foot money, billions of dollars, right? You tell me you can't survive a year. You couldn't survive a year. You couldn't survive 6 months, right? Not even a year, because they were asked for bailouts like 3-4 months in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like you're telling me that like everything is COVID fault, not the way you were planning, not the way you were managing your money, not the way that you were running it, right? It's nothing makes sense. So like when we come together, we as people need to stop being like, okay, we know this is how it has to be done because this is what we saw. No, we have to come together, be willing to, right, pick a direction, pick a path, right, and start figuring it out together, and be willing to be like, all right, my shit ain't working. Let's try something else. Right.
So I mean, with our military experience and seeing, I feel like this, okay, with the military experience and seeing the way a squadron is run and a base is run and so on and so forth, right? So when you break all of that down, that's the blueprint. That's the blueprint of trying to piece whatever we talking about right here together. You know what I'm saying? Coming together, maintenance do what you do, operations do what you do. Everybody got a part, but it's all working together for the greater good.
It was the same goal.
Right. Toward the mission. The mission is the purpose. So you do how you do it. We'll come together, and if you kind of getting off target a little bit, we'll focus on the mission. This is what we're going toward, regardless of how big, how small, however. I mean, and it starts off with, I feel like the spirit is there. I feel like our people do have that spirit, and it is there, but it's just trying to get with that few little people in your circle, And then what comes against that is once you got an idea that, you growing or you building or you trying to make successful, the opposition or the resistance that you get from some people is on the outside is that they will do more to try to destroy your vision or destroy your purpose because they don't want to see you get ahead. They don't want to see you do better. They don't want to help you out. They don't want to give you this little tidbit, that little tad bit, instead of joining the circle or at least participating in, because at the same time, like we were all stationed at Edwards together, and Edwards fell under a certain MAGCOM. These certain bases fell under this MAGCOM. You had other bases that fell under a different MAGCOM. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be whatever it is, refueling, Barksdale fall under different MAGCOM, Okinawa fall under different MAGCOM. It's different MAGCOMs, but all work together for the same purpose. It ain't like, well, we ain't gonna tell them this because they are that, or they ain't gonna tell us this. We still gonna share the information, and you still gonna disseminate it. And respectfully, I understand that's what you're doing, and you understand this is what I'm doing, but we still all going for the same purpose. It ain't really kind of holding together or trying to put stumbling blocks in your way or not giving you pertinent information that could help you get ahead.
Right. What's called? Hey, what's Stacy talking about? Stacy talking about nope, not here, single woman, no kids, and who's she talking to?
I don't know what that one's about.
Are you letting us know you're single, Stacy? If you live on the East Coast, hit me up. But we lost Stu.
I don't know what Stu went either.
I gotta get rolling.
Yeah, you got something to do?
Yeah, I gotta get ready for this event. Yeah, we got country line dancing
tonight.
Yeah, in like an hour.
All right, for sure. All right. Let me see if Stu come back up real quick so we can sign off. We didn't get to our other topics. We're gonna do this. We're talking about doing this more often, or building up. I know it's be last minute. We thank for the people who join in when they do, and who talk to us and leave comments and watch. Make sure you spread it, send it out.
Stacey, let me get some money. Tracy says, struggle having all this money, say hook a brother up.
Right. Looking for a sponsor and investor. You know what I'm saying? We all invest in each other.
Right.
I mean, I know Stacy. Stacy she's got her little, she's got a business going on. And
don't call her business little.
I mean, no, I'm not saying. That's why I changed it. That's why I cut that out. It's really, she saw it and she got it started and it's going on. So she's doing good. Shout out your Stacy, put your contacts in the comments right here so we can share them. But she kind of shy, so that's why. Yeah.
So cold.
So Cold Ink, she makes. It's good. Shout out to Stacy. Let's see if Pean come back in here. I mean, Stu come back in here.
Real. So
I don't know. If you're looking for, just follow Stacy on Instagram. You'll see.
Yeah, just followed
her. What she's working with, and you can order some of her products. She's got really great products. I like what she does. Stu is back.
My bad, man. I was trying to look at the chat. All right, where we live off at, so I can spark this up before we leave.
All right, we left off at.
We left off on Stacy saying that she was singing with no kids. So I was trying to if I can get in the DM, but
what I think so I don't.
We doing closing remarks.
Closing it up.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Well, how we went?
Yeah,
go ahead. You go ahead because P gotta go. He got an event coming up.
So I don't even know how to close it out. So again, I don't want to make it seem like I'm beating up on our people, but what I'm saying is, I don't think we're gonna have a goal where we're all gonna get together and kumbaya and get to this goal. Like, we have tension at family reunions. We ain't gonna be able to get along with all these strangers. What I think we need to do though is focus on our direction. Stop thinking about people trying to hurt us. Stop thinking about the system that's trying to hold us back or whatever. Because I tell you what, in the last couple of years, I realized how many other races are barely making it and living off of credit and having their parents help them and stuff. Like, it ain't like all these other groups are doing so much better than we are. A lot of them are in the same place we are. I just think we need to get rid of that, all this oppression, the system is holding us back, and do what we need to do to get where we're going. It's going to hurt, but we can get there.
Right. And I mean, and that's what I said. At the end of the day, with all that being said, is understanding comes with knowledge. And I feel like the reason that the things are the way they are is because a lot of our people lack that knowledge, lack that understanding of what's really going on behind the scenes. We look at the images, we look at other races driving these nice cars, living in these nice neighborhoods and living in this, but we don't know what's on paper. We just see that. And so when you see somebody doing that, getting the numbers and the likes and we get distracted by the glitz and the glamour and the fame. And that's not really what it's all about. That's just a side effect, a symptom of hard work and sticking together and supporting each other. So at the end of the day, support each other, and it starts out in your circle. It just starts out with those who you know. Just like me, Stu, and Pean meet here when we meet here, and we talk about what we talk about. And, we want this to grow because I feel like we have good conversations, and and not for nothing, I've gotten people feedback that say, hey, man, when y'all be on there, I'll be locked in and I listen to y'all. So that goes out to, Pean and Stu. There are people listening, and I appreciate y'all comments, y'all concerns, y'all opinions. And we just, that's just the foundation of everything. And who's going to listen, and those who won't, initially, because you always know you got those hard-headed people who you got to win over and make them understand really what you're talking about. So I appreciate y'all for coming on. Appreciate your time. Appreciate everybody for joining in. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, and, we'll be back with y'all again. Pean, good luck on your event today. Would you say you got some line dancing?
We got some country and line dancing.
Yeah. One thing I will say, you know, so they say white people can't dance, but when I tried line dancing, that shit was not easy.
Listen, I was just thinking because this guy has been, hit me up. He does it like on Sundays, so he's done it a few times. And these must be moving. I'd be like, they told me that white people ain't got the rhythm. They pretty good.
but they be throwing steps in that shouldn't be there. You know, like you do that little 2-shift step or kickback, touch the back of your heel, and grab your belt buckle and all that shit. That's too much. I don't got all those. I don't wear cowboy boots or belt buckles, so I don't know what you just did right there.
I'm gonna give you some
2 more times and I'll get it.
All right, y'all.
All right, for sure. Welcome for joining to the Flight Chief's office. It's been said, Stu, Pean. We out.